how messed up that is, and they don't know a way out. It
There's
feels
a third
like
option. They do have a vision, and they realize it's dog shit, but they just. And I don't believe this is the case.
No, yeah.
But this would be a great world if he was like, and then when you escape Tarkov, it's Skyrim.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, a show dedicated to talking about all the poggers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games, with a heavy focus on the first-person shooter Escape From Tarkov. I am one of your co-hosts, Jessekazam, an Escape From Tarkov content creator, and somebody who constantly lives in fear of his internet crapping out on me.
He always gets me every time with that. I'm always unprepared for the switch. And I'm Veritas. I have nothing. Oh, you know what? I should go with my stream title today. Did you see my stream title?
Yes.
I'm running for president of Tarkov. Not on the. Now that I realize that it's much harder to say than it is to read. The Democrats versus the Republic Chads. It's fucking stupid now that I say it out loud.
No, yeah, but when you're reading it, when you see it, it is actually brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, I saw your tweet and I was like, wow, that's brilliant. It really is.
Well, I didn't think about that until after I was thinking about the metaphor for the community, because like I was saying before, I'm working on writing a script that is essentially the whole premise of this video that I'm working on. The major impetus behind it is to talk about the netcode and how it's in a bad spot, and how I still don't know if a lot of people in the community realize how bad it is or what the cause might be. And some of the theories and testing that I've done, but then also that whole thing in general about the overall, like how it's almost like how hard it was to come to the conclusion that I did, because of the community and like the feedback loop of, oh, you're experiencing all these issues. There's some people who aren't experiencing these issues, therefore the problems you're having can't be real. Yeah. You have to explain it by you're in a rut, or that you're just bad at the game now, or whatever. Yeah. So it's talking a lot about like the community, and which ropes in a lot of the, here are all the things that I wanted to talk about before, and wanted fixed before, with quests and with bugs like leg meta and the scavs and all these things that I was proposing that I was like in the minority of at first. Yeah. And then as soon as I proposed it, a lot of people were like, oh, I never thought about it that way. That actually sounds like a reasonable explanation. And then I make a video that actually is more succinct about it, send it to Nikita, and then a month later, there's a patch. Yeah. Sometimes better than others. But the community right now just feels so similar to the two-party fucking political system in the United States, where I can't even go on Facebook. I don't normally go on Facebook. I wouldn't normally go on, but every now and then I'll get like a message from my dad. That's how he talks to me on Facebook, because it's just Boomer Central. It's my dad and my grandmother posting, political shit, or whatever. And it's always just like every conversation is, it gets nowhere because people are just on two sides of two different teams. Yeah. And they think that they know everything about the other side. And so it's like, I obviously do not want to get into politics, but it's the equivalent of like, I'm a Republican and the Democrats just want to take all my money and give it to the poor slobs on welfare. Yeah. And then they go, yeah, but you just want to kick out all the immigrants. Yeah. And, it's like, it's just a bunch of, nobody's actually having a discussion. It's just people yelling at each other, and they think that they can summarize someone's. Yeah. They think they can summarize someone's stance with a label. Exactly. And that's, I think that's exactly the point you're making, is that it's not even a political thing. It's just like how it presents itself oftentimes in politics these days, which is so frustrating. But
it's it to me like it feels like a complete one, and this isn't just Tarkov community, this is just, I see this everywhere. It's like a complete 180 of how like argument or debate like is supposed to be. You know, like argument isn't a bad word. Just like, you know, ignorance is oftentimes, the word ignorant is oftentimes construed as like incredibly negative, when all the word really means, yeah, it's just that like I'm unaware of things that would have changed my opinion. I'm ignorant to those things. And so like the word argument as well, where it's like the whole point of an argument or a debate is to get to the truth, right? It's not to defend my opinion. It's assuming we both want the truth. And it's,
well,
so,
yeah, I mean, it depends on if you
yeah.
use it that way, or if like the formal, making a formal argument.
Yeah.
Typically, you know, that's another way of looking at it, which is typically it can come in lots of forms, but you have what's called like a logical syllogism, which is essentially premise A, we have premise B. If premise A is true and premise B is true, then C necessarily follows based on whatever rules of logic. I mean, there's a million ways of formulating it, but so then that's a way of basically saying, okay, so do you agree on premise A? Great, we can move on. Do you agree on premise B? Great. Well, I say that because of this, this, and this, that C, the conclusion necessarily follows from A and B. You know, like are all cats animals, and all animals are living, you know, like, are all cats living? Well, if you agree on those two, I mean, that's a shitty analogy because
I see what you're saying.
Dead animals, but you know what I mean? All, that's just like, if you agree on A and you agree on B, if you disagree with the conclusion, then, and again, it depends on what kind of logical argument you're making. But I mean, and honestly, that's how I try to approach things a lot, is with that. It's with that methodology. Usually what'll happen is I'll have this whole argument about something and I'll put it forward, and then it's clear that somebody doesn't understand either the nuance or maybe we don't agree on premises. So it's like, okay, I'll reel it back and I'll say, okay, can we agree that this is a thing? And when they say yes, it's like, cool. Premise A is agreed on. Can we agree on this as a thing? And then at the end, it's like, well, okay, well then, if you agree with A and then you agree with B, then why don't you agree with C? If you think about, whatever, or I'll use a metaphor to show how that logic follows, things like that. But people think I'm being difficult, or that I just love to hear the sound of my own voice.
Yeah,
and it's like,
exactly.
No, I'm just trying to, it's step by step.
Yeah, it's trying to gain understanding. It's trying to, and that's another thing too, is a lot of times the frustration comes from when people disagree. Unfortunately, people just get more and more general as opposed to more and more specific. They're just like, well, you just, like you're saying, oh, well, you just think this about the game. You just think the game is broken fundamentally. When you're approaching it from the other end, it's like, no, if we actually don't agree on something, let's get into it. Let's dive into the nitty gritty and talk about it more, because then we can uncover where between A and B the disconnect is, and then start there. And that's what the frustration is. And that brings up, like you're saying, the two-party, well, you're just a Republican. It's just, we back away from it, but we feel like we're diving into it. We feel like we're winning the argument by backing away from the argument or from the disagreement and trying to learn anything. And then just assigning labels. Labels are just so easy. I was talking to somebody. It was so frustrating. Yesterday was the Apple event, right? With the new phones. They announced new phones. And they announced that they're not coming with the power brick or headphones. And my friend was texting me, who's just like notoriously like loves to like bash on Apple and do the thing. And was like, I was like, they stopped caring, which we don't have to get into that, but like, they stopped caring about the user the day Steve Jobs died, blah, 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 blah. I'm really starting to hate Apple. How could they do that? And I responded with, I was like, a bunch of companies are starting to do that. Like Google and Samsung are starting to do similar things. And he responded, oh, the Apple Defender. And I was like, I actually didn't even say anything about Apple. You know what I mean? It was just like
because he heard what you said. He heard what you said and extrapolated out. He thinks he knows that you were going to say, oh, well, if you think that Google, if you're going to try to defend Google, then it's okay for me to defend Apple. It's like, so people don't address the things you say. They think that they know your position, and then they try to get out in front of it.
Yes, exactly. They try to get out. And I was like, Apple defender, I was like, I want him in the box too. I wasn't saying that I didn't. I was just saying that it's like a thing that's happening all over. And I even said, I was like, you are totally allowed to hate Apple. You just have to hate these other companies too then. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, it's so,
it's like you can't look at the, you know, the, when I say that there seems to me to be weirdness with the netcode and stuff like that, and then people say, well, I don't experience that. And then I show them video of me playing with you, and you're like running in place, frozen, you know, and like, I have got the dozens of clips. That's when I played with Geeks, it was like that. When I played with you, it was like that. When I played with Sensei Scav, it was like that. One possible conclusion that nobody's actually said to me yet that I can remember, because there's one common denominator. It's my internet. I mean, that could be a thing too, but there's evidence against it being that lots of people have experienced similar things. And when I watch other streams, every time I watch someone doing a duo, there's always somebody.
Yeah.
Who's fucking ice skating around, and like nobody points out, because they think like it's my teammate, who cares, but they don't realize that like, yeah, but your connection to them is no different than anybody else's connection, you know, to them. So if they're skipping around, like, it's either that they're skipping around on the server or on your client. Either way, how the fuck are you gonna hit them?
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, can we agree that what I'm showing you, is this a problem, right? That's like the premise number one. Is this a problem? Okay, cool. Well, if you agree that there's an issue with the netcode, what if I told you that this happens to me in 85% of my raids? Would you agree that that's, you know, a problem? Great. Now, would you agree that if someone has this real problem in 85% of the raids, then that's a problem worth being frustrated and or complaining about? Well, yeah, but you're just a streamer, and you know, it's like so the labels are either Chad, Rat, or streamer versus casual, and it's like I wonder what was it like for you? Tell me the experience for when you got your when you got partnered on Twitch. What was it like having all credibility and ability to empathize with casual players ripped from the core of your body as soon as you became a real streamer? What was that like? What did it feel like? It's been so long for me that I don't remember what it was like prior, you know, to be a new player. I couldn't conceive about it.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I think like it definitely, as much as that is kind of a meme and a joke, it definitely happened for sure. And I mean, it's obviously not correlated to as soon as you get a check mark or something. But the more I made YouTube videos and the more that I streamed, absolutely, it just feels like, people attribute what you say to like you just want to benefit non-casuals, or what do you mean by that? It's not even I don't know. I'm basically saying that what I say gets dismissed a lot, and what a lot of streamers say gets dismissed a lot, because half the people look at me and they say, you're just a Chad streamer who plays 1 million hours a week. You just want the game to be harder. And then everybody comes and looks at my money and says, you're such a rat, you suck, you're bad. You're not a Chad. So it's like Republicans all calling me liberals and liberals all calling me conservative. It's like, how about I'm just in the middle of all of you fucking clowns, and that's why everybody thinks I'm crazy, because I'm in the middle. Here's the thing though, is that like, it's, in my experience, it's less about people dismissing what I say and more about people coming with preconceived notions. Does that make sense? I feel
interesting about what?
Just like, I feel like people arrive thinking that X streamer only wants the game to be made for the Chads. So if you arrive to my channel or your channel or anybody's channel with that, then what's being said gets filtered through that. Does that make sense? That's what I think makes it not fair. In my experience and in my opinion, it is the loud minority. Like, I think the silent majority of players and stuff like that don't really do this, but I think there's a difference between somebody showing up neutral, hearing something, and then going, "That's stupid." I think they come around and they're like, these people just want what's best for the no-lifers. So now no matter what I say and no matter what context, with what emotion I say it, it's just going to be perceived that way because you're just there's 7 of them. If there's 250 people in chat, 7 of them are just there with that preconceived notion.
Holy shit. Me and you, okay. I need someone to
the
draw
other 243
this.
are dope.
If there are any artists in the community, if somebody could draw this, I'd kiss you on the mouth when the pandemic's over and we both test positive.
Negative.
Test positive for the immuno.
Yeah, there you go.
Forget I fucking said any of the things I just said. I'm just picturing like me and you as essentially Bernie Sanders and the Gary Johnson. Although that's a bad metaphor because some people would say they're too far left or they're too far right.
Yeah.
But surrounded in the presidential debate where it's like a bunch of people saying a bunch of bullshit nonsense, nothing, and then you have the small minority who's like trying to speak for the normal average common person and is realistic, and they're just like laughed off the stage and they get 2% of the vote, and it's like the only people who are hurt by this 2-party system, the Chads versus the Rats, is the 92% of the player base that just wants to fucking play the game that isn't either of those things.
Yeah.
And I would like to think that I argue on the side of sense and and smart design from a software and a game perspective. Yeah. Not for I don't want the game to be easier or to be more catered towards casuals, or I don't want it to be harder. I mean,
and that's what I don't get about, like, we had a really good conversation a few podcasts ago where we made a lot of similar. We kept talking about how like MMOs nail it, like WoW is just a perfect example of like you could pick up WoW today and have fun, and there's entire communities around like getting you through the game and helping you through the initial content and helping you understand the intricacies of it. I mean, like if you stacked every page of the Escape From Tarkov wiki and the WoW wiki like next to each other, you know what I mean? It's like you can't make an argument that Tarkov's a more complicated game. WoW's been around for forever. But at the same time, there's also really dedicated, really hardcore, really intense players, and both communities thrive. I mean, I guess I'm not involved in that community, so I don't know if they're like rivals like it seems to be in the Tarkov community. But I just remember we had that podcast, and there was just like a lot of really good conversation about how like sometimes I feel like I'm trying to pitch people something that's never been done before. And then I remember that actually, no, this happens all the times. Video games are made with both Chads and Rats in mind. Video games are made with both people that play 70 hours a week and people that play 4 hours a week in mind. I think a key difference is that maybe less of those games put those two people in a room together as often as Tarkov. So I'm not saying that Tarkov isn't different, but I'm just saying sometimes I feel like I'm arguing for this like brand new video game experience where everybody can have fun.
Imagine a quest that the requirements, brace yourself, the requirements make sense with the lore and the mechanics of the game, and they maybe even introduce you to new mechanics slowly, perhaps new players in the beginning. Maybe they force you to step a little bit out of your comfort zone in terms of, what you're using, where you're going, what you're doing to spice up the experience a little bit, show you something that maybe you don't know, and that they're reasonable and feasible and not literally fucking impossible half the time, potentially. Yeah. Imagine quests like that. Well, unfortunately, whenever I've proposed those types of things, I either get shit on because I want the quest to be harder.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny, to some people I am literally Thanos, like destroyer of worlds, the greatest ever Tarkov Chad. And yet it's like I got a fucking 30,000 rubles and a 32% survival rate. Yeah. It's like, and then other people are like, this guy isn't Landmark, this guy isn't clean, this guy isn't Pestily, he's complete and utter trash and garbage and doesn't know how to fucking play the game. It's like, and
it's weird. It's weird and I don't know where it comes from either, because I I watch Landmark quite a bit. He streams from like 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. my time. I come home from streaming or whatever, and I throw him up on the TV, and then I like play with my phone before I go to bed. And he didn't accept it, but it was forced upon him, the mantle of the, like, he is the Uber chat hero. He's their god. You know what I mean? And I think he's just a guy that likes to play the game, and he's really, really good. But like, it's crazy because, like, once again, this is why I think it's the vocal minority of people that stir up all this nonsense, is because you spend 10 minutes in his chat, and like anytime anybody asks him a question, he'll be like, no, you couldn't do that because then newer players to the game wouldn't be able to blank. Like, you know what I mean? He's like their god. And even he, like, if you just spend 10 minutes in his chat, he's like, no, yeah, X, Y, or Z. Or the same could be said about Pestily or Clean or all these guys. It's not... You have to... They're made out to be these people that are like, yeah, no, absolutely, get rid of the casuals. It's just, you know what I mean? All I want to do is 1v1 people that have spent 77,000 hours playing the game. But... I can't find a time where they say that stuff. So it's just a weird... That's why I think it's just a few people that are so butthurt about something.
The problem is again, it's the same reason why the party system is annoying and why you can't have political conversations. It's because people don't listen to the words that you say.
Yeah. Oh, bro.
They just assume they know everything they need to know about you when there's a label on you.
Yeah.
They just, he's a Chad. That means that anything he wants in the game, it's going to be for him. It's going to make it harder for everybody else. It's like, ignore what his name is.
Yeah.
You should, like, put them behind one of those, like, where they have those fucking blind date game shows.
Yes.
Where it's like, you don't get to see the person, but you hear what they have to say.
Yeah.
How about you just listen to their words and respond to their ideas on their own merit? Yeah. It's irrelevant who says it and who they are.
It's a completely contrived, made up rivalry. Because, like, and I think you would agree, the perceived desires of these two groups of people, the Chads and the Rats, on a Venn diagram would have like 1% intersection. But the blind date version of what all these people want for Escape from Tarkov is probably like a 96% intersection of what we all would like appreciate out of the game. It's insane. It's a completely made up, I don't know. It's just it's so dumb. The people don't care what you have to say. They just, and then once again, and then the whole thing about like streaming is that it's just fundamentally unfair to have a conversation with a particular person or a group of people in chat, because I can talk faster than you can type. I'm responsible to also be playing a video game during this time. I'm trying to make sure that the other people in the chat are having a good experience. And it's just
impossible.
It's just unfair. It's like, you know what I mean? It's not only really hard for me as a streamer, but it's unfair to you. All I have to do, and this is why I don't like arguing with people in chat, all I have to do to win is read your message with the inflection and tone of voice that I know will get you in trouble. All I have to do,
makes you sound like an idiot.
No matter how you typed the message.
Oh, you want to take away the flea market?
All I have to do is say, and I don't like to do that. I don't want to do that accidentally, and I sure as heck don't want to do it on purpose. But that's why it's like, this is just unfair. Because if I start to get mad, I'm gonna start doing that accidentally, and the rest of my chat's gonna rise up with me against you, and that's not a fair argument. That's not a fair conversation to have. Why do you want to have that conversation? I don't want to have that conversation. It's like, let's take it to Discord, whatever. I don't care.
And that's why this is why you're better than me, because I am like, oh, I can help this guy. You know, I feel like I'm a pastor or something, and somebody comes in you haven't heard about Jesus, our Savior?
Our Lord and Savior, Nikita?
I can fucking save you! Come on in! You know, but instead it just usually ends up being like, it's the question is asked in such a way that's like, you know, there's always some usually shitty like attitude in the way that the question is asked, like, don't you think that this thing makes it easier for Chads like you to pull? It's like, I can't even unwrap all the bullshit in that
to get to the actual question.
You're asking me this thing that's going to take 2 hours of bullet pointed things that as soon as I get to the third bullet point, 10 people are going to come in and say, can you start over? and then as soon as I explain all the things with all the caveats, someone else will come in and say the same thing that you did before I explained everything, and then ask if I've considered my 6th point that I made. They weren't here. So that's why I make a video.
Yeah.
And that's why my videos are 40 minutes long and I talk so much, because I need to get every fucking little bit. You can't say that I didn't not caveat this other thing with this other thing and put an asterisk and then put it in the fucking footnotes that I said maybe not, possibly, could be tomorrow at some point, maybe, depending on.
Yeah.
So now when people ask me the questions, I go, use the fucking command and watch the video.
I mean,
and now I just feel it's like sweet interaction. We didn't get to actually talk. I just said,
yeah.
You just got here? Great. You know what's a great way to retain an audience? Immediately have them go to another fucking website.
yeah, go away. Come back later if you watch the whole thing and we'll talk about it.
I'm not going to watch your video, dude. Just tell me the answer. Okay, well, here's the answer. Well, I don't accept your answer. Well,
yeah.
Fuck me then, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird. But like I said, I truly believe, and maybe it's the like absolutely naive, just unrelenting optimist in me. I just feel like it's 7 people, you know what I mean, that stir it all up. It's such a small percentage of people. They're just so loud. And then the heartbreaking thing is that the entire system we just described, how easy it is to label something, how once you're labeled, words mean nothing because now I know what your label wants, is that it dupes everybody else into feeling like they have to pick a team, right? Because if they start hearing people talk about stuff that they don't want and everybody else labels them as this, it's like, I don't want that, you know what I mean? And then they feel like they kind of have to shuffle into a squad or a tribe or whatever.
That's why you have to be on the team of reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
Because then you're on sometimes you're on this team, sometimes you're on that team. It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah. You go where that's what science is about.
Yeah.
You go where evidence and the logic leads you.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll change your position if you're shown to be wrong. One of the interesting things that I recently and maybe we can segue just into one of the things, maybe skipping if you want, because I just think this is a good segue.
Yeah.
I was going through in scripting this out, I was going through a bunch of YouTube videos and comments to try to gather screenshots and stuff for this video. And when I was talking about, I think it was maybe a podcast, I don't know what it was because I had like 150 tabs open. I went through like the team podcast, every like of my science videos. Anytime I've ever been like, I have a theory and here's a proposed thing, it's like I got to open this up and read through the comments to see what the last 2 years of people have been saying about my ideas, if they came true, you know, whatever. Yeah. But I basically said, I don't know if and where I said it, but I absolutely do not doubt that I said it, where I was basically like, the Found and Raid flea market it's not going to fix hatchlings. Like, you're not going to fix hatchlings that way.
Yeah.
Because I had a different sort of definition for, or at least a different explanation for like the psychology of hatchlings than most people do.
Yeah.
That came at it from like a different angle. So when they're like, so one of the comments was basically like, because now there really, I don't know about you, but there really isn't hatchlings.
Dude, I was having that conversation the other day.
I saw like 4 yesterday for some reason, and then but like otherwise I haven't seen it. And part of that's I think because I've been running reserve. There's probably more on reserve in general, but like you don't see a hatchling on labs anymore because you're gonna insta die and you just paid $250,000,
exactly.
Right? But so I think I made the comment on the podcast like, yeah, it's not gonna fix hatchlings, and then someone was like, oh, he was so sure, that, and I was like, I was definitely mostly wrong, but I'm also, the more I think about it, because I'm like, you're right, hatchlings aren't there. So then I'm like, interesting. Because it's something that I hadn't thought about. Because I don't remember what I thought a year ago. I just remember what I thought now and just assumed I always thought it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so hard to think about all the nuances of everything. So if somebody that's why a lot of times I'm like, clip it and point it to me. Yeah. Not that you're lying. I just don't fucking remember saying that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So like I said, I'm pretty sure I said that. And now it's like, well, what was the change? what was the change that happened, and when did it happen? I guess you'd want to ask that in the opposite order, because when you figured out, like, if we knew when the trend started, we could then reverse it back to some patch and figure out, okay, what came in that patch and did it do anything? Because my guess is that it was probably like a slow decline. You know, when they changed something and then like a bunch of people did their hatchet runs, realized they didn't do what they wanted it to do. And then that just happened more and more and more to where they had alternatives.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think happened? What's been your experience?
Like with hatchet running?
Yeah, just like, I don't know if anybody's talked about it, if you've experienced anything with more or less, whatever,
I mean,
and why you think change happened and when.
Yeah.
So like 27 questions.
No, well, wait, it's funny because we were just having this conversation the other day where I was like, something definitely happened. Like, I don't see hatchet running nearly as often. That does not mean that it is non-existent, of course, but I don't think that's what anybody, was saying or arguing. But, all I know is that at one point in the community, it was like the singular thing that's ruining the game, right? Like, it was just perceived as this like huge issue and everybody was hatchet running, and I don't see hardly any people do it anymore. And I honestly haven't put any thought as to why until you asked this question. Off the top of the head, I guess, yeah, the found in raid meant that surviving a raid is insanely more important to the value of like looted items when it comes to the flea market. So people are trying to increase their survival rate by bringing in gear. But I haven't really given it a lot of like actual thought as to like why it happened. We were just talking about the other day where it's like, oh yeah, I don't see a lot of hatchlings anymore. You know what I mean? And that was kind of as far as we got. Yeah,
people make there's a lot of things that people say that, and they're typing it in chat now, that like make sense on the surface, and I think maybe contributed a little bit more, but or contributed at least in part. I don't know if it was 80% or 5%. So some of the more common ones are Twitch drops. So like a lot of new people join the game, but historically speaking, it's hard to say whether the hatchlings they were always fucking high level. So I don't know if they were just like, if they were veterans farming cash, or if they were RMT, or if they were, whatever, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people say, okay, well, there's the post-raid healing, which I don't know. How much does it cost to heal fully? It's not that much.
It's not that much.
And then the found in raid. So if you die when things, because there's multiple parts. There's found in raid, and then there's found in raid for the flea market. But then wasn't there another change to where if you die and it's in your protector case, it's not found in raid? Like there's a number of different changes, right?
I think, yes. I think there was a time in Tarkov where anything that you pulled out of a raid was found in raid. So if you died but had stuff in your secure container, you pulled it out of the raid and it was found in raid. So I do think that was, it's hard. Yeah. So like you're saying, it's hard to remember all the layers of Tarkov, but I do think there was a period of months even, where you could go get the lead X's, F1 at your feet, and then sell them on the flea market.
So here's the thing. So let's say you're a hatchet runner. I always just was under the impression, it made the most sense to me, that it was less about like making as much money as they could, and to me it was more about being risk averse, because people would much rather, like, people feel much better about gaining $50,000 than they would about winning $100,000 having to pay $50,000 in taxes. It's a different feeling, right? So I always had the hunch that people are more, they don't want to lose stuff. Yeah. And that's why they want risk free. Yeah. So somebody would go in and they would, before you used to be able to go in and grab a LEDX and die and you'd make 1 million rubles.
Yeah.
If they did the found in raid thing and the gamma container, thing, it makes it what, 300,000?
Yeah.
I still think that like that would be, all other things being equal, and there's other things that I'll get to, that like I don't think that would change their behavior, because it's not like they're like, oh, I'll do it for $1 million, but not for a third of $1 million.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
So that was just at least my hunch that. Oh, and of course there's the tagged and cursed, which is like, I don't think that really makes a massive difference. It's like,
I honestly don't know if it's still a part of the game. I've gone into a raid as a hatchling like 10 times in the past week doing viewer kits, and people are like, bring a pistol, you're gonna get tagged and cursed, and I don't bring anything, and I don't see a scab the whole raid, so I have no idea if that's even still in the game, to be honest with you.
I might try to do a couple of hatchet runs for science, just to see. But it's like, I'm sure you can still make plenty of money hatchet running. It's just going to be less than you could before, when you could sell stuff on the flea market.
Yeah.
And before the flea market, when things were a lot more expensive to sell to traders.
Yeah.
For me, the thing that's most compelling, or at least seems most compelling, is not the found and raid flea market, not tagged and cursed, not post raid healing, not the drops event. I don't think anybody really changed, like they evolved out of it. I think there's just a better option, and that's the hideout minigame. It's completely risk-free, and it's probably far more profitable to just sit and, like, you could sit for an hour and, like, let me click on the med station. Okay, well, if I did this, and this, let me figure out what the calculator. Okay, I'll craft that. Okay, let me, do this, and this, and this. I mean, that right there, even if they did that fully and then did a hatchet run.
Yeah, hatchet run and then a scab run. They could come back.
Hatchet run, scab run, and then go through the. I mean, that would at least take the same amount of hatchet runners and make them 1/5 as prevalent, because they'd spend 80% of their time fucking around in the hideout crafting bullshit for nothing. Because there are still plenty of things that you can do, even if you're printing 50,000 rubles. It's way easier than going into, like, I don't think anybody had fun holding shift and W.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm sure that.
I agree.
There's going to be someone that's going to be like, oh, I had fun doing it, but like, I don't, if they had an alternative, if you could play Minesweeper and print rubles, they would choose Minesweeper over running around and looting safes, I bet.
No, I agree. And I think that goes back to what you're saying about the primary motivation was an ability to play the game with less risk. So I'll save up a few billion rubles, or I will help a few million rubles hatchet running. Then I'll spend one day buying HKs and slicks. I'll go run it, and then I'll go back to, like, it's about removing that risk. And so I think that's a good point. That I don't think a lot of people had necessarily a lot of fun, but they were doing this for the promise of a little bit more risk-free fun later. Yeah.
So I mean,
hideout is I had not considered that at all. I had not considered that there's a risk-free, guaranteed way to make money.
And the other piece of it is that everything you make in the hideout is found in raid.
Yeah.
So you're literally printing the most expensive kind of items.
Yeah.
Without having to go in a raid. You're more likely to get a found in raid mag case in 2 hours in the, the fucking in the hideout than you are than you are actually going in and running, like, doing marked room runs, right? So, like, it just doesn't, there's no reason for them to do that anymore. If they want to play, they can sit and play on their Game Boy Advance while their hideout's ticking down, and then they just collect their bitcoins and whatever, and they're printing money, and then they can spend the 10% of their actual gameplay time playing the game.
Yeah.
So because they print enough money automatically every day in just bitcoins and shit. So
that's a really good point. I hadn't considered that the hideout is giving players a way to make money that they don't have to go into raid. Are you saying that you think that's, like, good, bad, or it needs to be ironed out still? Like, so where do you land on, like, if that's the thing, is that a good thing for the game long term, do you think? Or
if I was the worst kind of person in the community that I'm always complaining about. My logic would be, we wanted hatchlings bad. We want hatchlings suffer. We made changes to game, make hatchlings suffer. Hatchling no longer suffer. Now we make it so you must do 10 raids before you use Hideout to whatever. Like, they come up with some arbitrary bullshit, making it so that, like, you have to play the game if you want to use the Hideout. It's like, they're missing the point, because my problem with hatchlings was, it was like 5% that they were immersion breaking, but it was 95% that they're taking a geared player slot out of the pool of players that are already limited at the time, at least. And they're able to risk-free gobble up all the gear faster than I can. Yeah. And I'm risking everything. So, and they can still come across my fucking $1 million kit if I just happen to get naded by Reshala. Yeah. You know, in a bush, and, you know, so it's like they have no risk, whatever. So the problem wasn't that hatchlings were running around. Yeah. Because if it was that you were a hatchling and you couldn't pick up any items, and you couldn't do damage to somebody, and you couldn't, like, if you were just essentially a ghost spectating, I would have no problem with hatchlings. Yeah. Let the cameraman follow me around, like, you know, whatever. But the fact that they can fuck with me, get in my way, and take shit from me without risking anything, that's what frustrated me, because it was negative to my experience when it was such a big problem. But now, the situation as it is now, it's like, it doesn't bother me. If all you want to do is play the Hideout minigame and print money all day long, you could probably argue that it hurts the economy, but I wouldn't even go so far as to say I don't care. Because mostly the economy, the prices are, like, it's not a free economy at all. The prices are literally set by, you're going to sell for 1 ruble more than whatever the trader will buy it for, or whatever the constituent parts for the things you can craft. Yes. I mean, that's why sugar is 70,000. Yes. And that's why and it's really interesting, because, you know, the sugar is exactly like, 1 sugar is exactly like half of a half of the alcohol, the moonshine. Yep. And it's because, but the sugar you can also craft. But if you find the sugar, you can sell it and make profit, because it's like 1 step above the base thing that you can take 2 Alyankas. Yep. But if you buy 2 Alyankas, it's exactly half of the price of 1 sugar. Yeah. So they're just tying prices to random bullshit. It has nothing to do with actual supply and demand. Yeah. There's not actually like a market. Really, the only thing to where there's a free market are items that you need for quests that you cannot buy from traders, that don't need to be found in raid. So like gunsmith kind of things. Yep. That's why those things are 70k or whatever, because it's basically whatever you can fucking charge. And they're overly inflated because everybody's got infinite money from all the other bullshit, because you can print money. Yeah. And those things actually are subject to supply and demand. This late in a wipe, this skeletonized hand grip that used to be 130k on the market is now 20k, because 98% of the player base is through the gunsmith task. So demand goes down. Although I was surprised that I could still sell the shotgun, the MP133. That is mind-blowing for the very first quest in the entire game. I haven't seen it. No, not the MP, not the 133. I'm saying the there's the shotgun hand foregrip. Gunsmith, that's something that I don't know either if it's rare or I just have ignored it 1,000 times, but I just picked it up today because I was like, I vaguely recall someone maybe mentioning, and then I went to say it was like 70, 80k. I'm like, that's what wild. The fuck? Like, you wouldn't want to spend 5,000 rubles on it as a part from you would. Like, it's not worth it. It's not. But so again, that's just a whole other frustrating thing. But but yeah. So looking at it from. Is it a problem? I don't think so. It's just another symptom of what was kind of the same problem although this is a less bad symptom, right?
Yeah.
I would rather have some latent symptomless disease
Yeah.
and be cured of cancer than,
if the economy is already broken and will continue to be broken and was broken before this, I don't mind all of the people that were negatively affecting my experience as a hatchling over here just shoveling more stuff into that broken economy, because that's not affecting my experience. The economy was broken beforehand. So exactly, it's not necessarily that it's a good thing, but it's a better thing than what was happening before.
They've got a mini game to print money now.
Yeah.
So even though they're gonna make a lot, probably, potentially, maybe, I don't know, because I'd never run the numbers on either of these things, but it's like, I assume that the people who also are super afraid of the risk are also probably pretty lazy, and also probably don't love like the gunfights.
Yeah.
Right? They like the game and they might like modding, but they just want the money. Those people are gonna not bother with the bullshit of going into a raid. They're just gonna play the mini game in between like CS:GO games or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting, because
it is.
I'd be interested to hear. This is one of those things, like, I should have done like a poll, because now I feel like people are either going to want to agree with me or disagree with me because it's me, not because, like, I need to find a hatchling who doesn't know who I am and be like, do you hatchet run? You don't. What stopped you? And have them be like, oh, I stopped hatchet running because I spend my time in the hideout now. It'd be like, ding, 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 ding. But if anybody says, scavs chase me, it's like, you can run to the fucking safe and factory and pocket some rubles, and
could you imagine if Tarkov had Voip and Veritas is running around with the press armor interviewing people? Did you used to hatchet? Did you used to hatchet run? And they're like, yeah, and they slow down, and you walk up and you're like, all right, I have a few questions for you.
This is Veritas with Veritas News. Here to ask you a couple questions. Do you have a minute?
Bro, imagine. And like somebody follows you and does the free look up as like the cameraman, so it's like you with the press armor and you're like interviewing. Oh my god, that would be incredible.
That's another perfect segue.
I know.
Great fucking job into
fucking juice time, baby.
I just felt like pressing those buttons.
Okay,
I don't know why.
I was like,
it's actually not relevant. I ruined the segue. We now have to segue out of my broken segue. No, Voip.
Yeah.
And primarily DayZ.
Yes.
Because I started playing DayZ.
So I saw you start playing
3 times.
I saw you start playing DayZ, and I loved it. I just I clicked on your stream, and you were in like a balaclava and a baseball hat and like a skirt, and I was like, yes, this is what I need in my life. And I was wondering, because had you never played DayZ before this, or just had it been a long time?
I had 56 minutes on DayZ. And all I ever remember doing is spawning into a server. It was pitch black. I ran into a house, got a flashlight, but didn't know how to turn it on.
Yeah.
Fist fought a few zombies, and this was maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay.
Long. I think I might have run it on my Mac or something.
Okay.
I don't even know if that's possible, but it was
just
no. The answer is no. I never played it.
Okay, so
all I had ever seen was a few clips, and lurked in Smoke's stream while he played it.
Yeah.
That was the extent. So I don't know the control. I still don't fucking know anything.
The controls,
and I don't care.
From so I don't want to trigger anybody, but from a guy who played console his whole life, has only played Escape from Tarkov on PC, the controls are so frustrating to me. But
what do you mean, dude? The interface and the UX and everything is intuitive, and it makes sense, and it's easy.
Have got to be being sarcastic, right? Okay.
I mean, the only explanation is that the people that get fired from Battlestate for the UX design are the ones that get hired by whoever the fuck are the developers for. Because that's the only game worse than...
I know. It's so funny. We're going to get back to on topic, but I love how, I started playing DayZ, and everybody was
This is the topic now.
Everybody was like, you're super late to this. This game is almost 10 years old. And in my head, I'm like, that means it should be polished, right? I get into a car with Fluven. I blink my eyes. We're 300 feet in the air, and our whole car is barrel rolling. Lennon just opens the door and bails out and drops to the floor. And me and Fluven are just like, foom, 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 foom. And he's like, no, I know how to do this. I know how to do this. If you put the car in reverse, and he's like, poof, and we're on the ground. And I was like, what do you mean this game's 10 years old? This isn't an alpha? What are you talking about?
Well, you know how old Tarkov is?
It's like 3 years old. Happy birthday. Right?
I want to know, did they say in that email how old it is?
I thought they said 3 years old. Because
I've been working on another project that I don't want to spoil. I'm excited about it. It's ambitious. It's going to take me a long time. But let's just say I came across a clip of Nikita's saying that they started in 2012.
Jeez.
That it was just in secret.
Wow.
So that to me is coming on 9 years.
Yeah. Well, anyways. So DayZ, yes, that was the best explanation. Everybody that gets fired from Battlestate game for bad UX and UI gets hired by Bohemia Interactive. But anyways, even still, I played DayZ for like 4 hours, and it completely revolutionized how I thought about Tarkov and just like what I wanted from the game. And that's very important to hear, what I want from the game, not that I think the game should do or that I'm gonna convince Battlestate to do. It just changed like what I wanted from the game. A huge part of that was what we talked about last week with Aqua. I was so team Voip is stupid, and now I want it so badly in Escape from Tarkov because of DayZ. Because it's mind blowing. It blew my mind that like I have, you stumble across a random person, like if I have a gun and they don't, I have no incentive to ask the question, do you have food? Just shoot them and take their food. But you do in DayZ, you ask them, hey, do you have any food, man? I've got some 9mm. I don't have a 9mm gun. And it was awesome. So I was wondering if even in your short time of playing DayZ, has it altered your view of Tarkov, what you want out of Tarkov at all? Or did it just like confirm things, or I don't know? It made me not as close as I can get to truly believing, while still being a little bit like on guard, that Tarkov could be even more amazing than I thought. Yeah.
And I pretty much always wanted Voip. But now it's to the point where there's very few things that I will like look at. I will look at anybody in their face from Reddit or from Twitch chat, and I will say, I don't care who you are. I am going to beg Nikita and send him a text message I'm going to send him flowers to his grandmother, try to bribe his ass to fucking put Voip in the game. I'm absolutely going to use all of my power and all of my influence to get him to prioritize putting Voip in the game. Because if you don't like Voip, turn it off, and the game is literally identical to what it is now.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's true.
But like, it's one of those things, like, I don't know, I won't be able to effectively describe not just like the content potential, because that wouldn't be enough to make it. Yeah. That wouldn't be enough, because I mean, only a small percentage are content creators.
Yeah.
But the fucking like, the way I see DayZ is it's like Tarkov, but with a much larger scale.
Yeah.
And with much, much, much less to do and much less shit and far worse mechanics and worse combat and, for the most part, worst graphics.
Yep.
But Voip makes it better than Tarkov.
It's insane. It's insane, bro. Yeah.
If it had Voip.
Oh, my God.
And Voip, you don't know what I would do.
You'd never play Tarkov again.
Well, no, I would never leave Tarkov.
Oh,
if Tarkov had
if Tarkov had
Voip
and Voip, yeah, it would. Yeah, you'd never play any other game again.
Bro, did you see what happened to me yesterday on DayZ?
Maybe. I don't think so.
Let me just explain to you a little bit, because I've been playing this was my first interaction with a random.
Okay.
Ever. First of all, I'm like running around, can't fucking find anybody, whatever. I'm like at a church.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I look, and every time I look and I see someone, first of all, I was role playing as an elderly man named Todd, as kind of harken back to the original dad from Star Citizen. a different character, but same name. He's still the original dad, but he's just an old man. He may or may not have late stage dementia, and he may or may not have a weird fetish for just wearing women's clothes. Don't fucking judge him. He's fashionable. It doesn't matter. I'm almost always dropping like cargo jeans with like a holster for like the pink miniskirt, just because I just want to roll up on somebody with a cowboy hat, a pink skirt, and like a flannel button down, or like a blue dress, and just be like, "Hey, I'm Todd." You know, like it was fucking hilarious.
How you doing?
So what I was doing was, whenever I look out, I've been pretending, doing a little bit of role play. It's my first time doing RP because I watch enough like Kit Boga. That it's like, oh man, I love the characters. I love just it's like improv. It's like an improv comedy show. I feel like I'm on Whose Line. Yeah. But inside of this universe where crazy shit happens, I just feel like it's a whole new level of being able to entertain myself and chat. Yeah. So I'm looking out, and every time I see a zombie, usually I'm like, hello, I'm looking for, I get this. The story is that I'm looking for my son. Every now and then, I think I hear like my wife's voice, but then I remember she died 25 years ago. I'm making this entire story as I go, totally improv, and it's like it's evolving into this great thing. We've established that my late wife, she died 25 years ago. She loved pistachio ice cream, so I'm very often just being like, "You like ice cream, kid? What kind of ice cream you like?"
This is incredible.
So anyway, I look out and I see it's always a zombie, and I'm always pretending like, "Hey, is that you?
Yeah,
is that you? You look like my son." And then I get closer. I'm like, "Oh shit! Oh god, you don't look so good." Like he doesn't like. It's almost like he forgot that there was an apocalypse.
Oh my god!
And I look out, and I had my rifle. It didn't have any ammo, and I zoom in, and all of a sudden I see the person there start running back and forth, zigzagging, and I'm like, "Oh shit, that's a person." Forgetting totally that I was just aiming at him with a rifle on top of a fence. I was just using it to like zoom in because it's a habit from Tarkov. Yep. And I roll up to him, and I'm like, "Hey, who are you? Are you my son? I'm looking for my son. His name's Randall." I'm like, "What's your name?" And I make friends with this dude, and he's a super nice guy, and he's just like, he drops me food, asks him if I'm hungry, and I asked him what his favorite ice cream was, and my wife loves ice cream. She died 25 years ago, and then like 14 years later, I'm like, "You like ice cream, kid?" Like I forget that I asked him. He told me his name was Sam, so I kept calling him Samantha, and he kept like trying to correct me, and I'd be like, "Yep," like old people, how they fucking respond to you wrong because they can't hear you. It was like it was just so much fun. And then I also have it set up till my instruments go through. So one of the things I did was I got not the car battery. I mean, it was a car battery, and like turned on the fucking speaker, and I was just for like 20 minutes was just playing guitar through the speaker, broadcasting. I don't know if anybody heard it.
That's incredible.
But to this guy, I was like, "What kind of music you like?" And he said some like hip hop thing, and I was like, "Fuck!" I couldn't switch to like hip hop beats fast enough. So I was like, "Well, what's your grandpappy? What kind of music he's like?" He's like, "Oh, like Beethoven." So I had like strings, and I was playing like symphonic strings to this guy as he was. And first of all, I'm sitting there with some like fat, like goat fat on a stick. And he was like, "Come with me," blah blah blah. He gave me a gun and all this stuff. We made it to a house. And I had turned off my whole HUD because I just like the immersion of it. And I'm sitting there with a stick with the fat. This kid has started a fire in the fireplace, and he's sitting there roasting it, and I'm standing just right next to him, like not fucking eating what he just spent all this time killing all these animals and whatever.
Just playing.
I play him this song, and then I'm like, after I played him the song, he's like, "Oh, that was really nice." And then I was gonna then get my guitar out and like shred and see what his fucking response was gonna be. And I'm like, "You ever heard of Van Halen, kid?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I like Van Halen." Rip. And then I die.
Did he kill you?
No, he was cooking meal. I died of starvation at the exact moment where he was like,
"Rip."
Yep, rip. And all of a sudden, "You are dead." And it was like, oh my god. And that was after Fluven was trying to find me. He'd been running for like an hour, and it was like he was like in the driveway as I died.
Oh my god.
And then we finally rendezvous again. We run a fucking hour, and I'm still in character, fucking annoying the hell out of him, being like, are you my son? You look just like my son. I'm not sure in canon yet if he actually is my son. He might be, and I might have just forgotten. I'm not sure if he just looks like, because his name's Randall too. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if he's not my son. He's wearing a mask. But anyway, we fucking want to go meet up with I don't know who it was, Bear, Gonda, or Lennon. I'm not sure. I forget now. Because we weren't there for very long. We like walked 500 miles to fucking town, show up in the town, and I'm like, oh, you look like my son, all of a sudden Fluvin goes, gets his head blown off. He gets sniped by a fucking stream sniper.
I heard about
after
that.
He just spent like 3 fucking hours.
Yep. Trying to get you.
Escorting this old man. He's like, I'm going to fucking shoot you if you ask me again what kind of ice cream I like. Or if you ask me what my name is. Or if you talk about your wife. Holy shit, dude.
Bro.
It was... I can just sit there. The game doesn't matter. It's the interactions that's everything, dude.
It really is. It's crazy to me how intense the community still is for DayZ. I know that like a few weeks ago, like Shroud and Summit were like playing DayZ, and like Summit tweeted out he was like, DayZ is finally an S tier game, and of course that's always going to bring just naturally like a resurgence to the game. But it's crazy about how many people still play the game, and you're so right. There is less to do. There are less items. The gunplay is objectively worse. The UI and UX is somehow worse, and it can be more fun depending on, if you're just getting into Tarkov and you're having a blast, but like, it's absolutely insane to me how much Voip makes a difference and how it can make the exact same content unbelievably fresh. You need to go to YouTube right now and type in JLK and subscribe to him on YouTube. Okay? You ever watch a guy's YouTube video and then 7 days go by and you're at their very first YouTube video because you've watched everything and you just can't stop? That's JLK.
And then you're so sad when you've watched it all.
Okay. The video that got me was I played DayZ like twice, and I was like, and then on YouTube new because whatever, Google, and the video, the thumbnail and the video title said this is how I ran the richest drug cartel in DayZ, and I was like, well, how did you run a drug cartel in DayZ? And
there's so many questions wrapped up in like, this is how I had an abortion after adopting 14 children, and it's like, well, you could do any of those things? Yeah. Wait, what?
Dude, I clicked on the video. It was 58 minutes long. I said, there's no way I watch an hour-long video. I'll watch 5 minutes of it. And 58 minutes later, I was like shedding a single tear that the story was over. He is a master class at telling story, by the way. I legitimately thought of you.
I went from like literally when you were like typing this thing on YouTube. Do you ever like get to the point where like you're gonna write down a recommendation and you have no plan?
Oh yeah,
you have to, like, I'm not. Definitely will read that book, Grandma. I promise you, I'll definitely read that book, Grandma.
Yeah.
And there's no way you will. I was like about ready to completely dismiss your recommendation because it's like I just don't have the time these days to watch.
I know, a 58-minute video.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't have any TV shows. Dark. I tried to watch Dark over again a second time. I'm like, it's probably gonna be a few years.
Yeah.
Even though it was so good, it's like I can't watch it over and over and over again because then I'll just it needs to be a little bit fresh. But now your explanation, like just piqued my interest. To now it's like, well, now I gotta fucking know what this guy's gonna do, and I'm probably streaming for the next week.
The reason he's so good, like I'm not gonna keep harping on it, is that it's exactly that. It's like all you need to do is guarantee to me you'll watch 10 minutes of that video, and I already know you'll watch the rest of it. Like all you gotta do is be like, okay, I'll give you 10 minutes, and if I'm bored, I'll leave. I know you'll finish it. He's a master.
Like I know if I give you one
he's a master
hit of
at telling story.
heroin, you're gonna be a fucking junkie and you're gonna come back.
Yep. He's a master at telling story, and when you watch those videos, all I can think about is how I want to create content like that in Tarkov.
So
and not just create content. I want to experience interactions, because I think, like you said, it's not just about creating content because 1% of people are content creators. I just want to experience interactions like that in Tarkov.
All content is a way
just
of making
interactions.
Exactly. It's just like sharing your experiences.
Yeah.
But so this might be like enough to go on for the rest of the fucking episode, I want to actually have a proper thought experiment about why does VoIP work in DayZ?
Yeah.
What are the motivations? What's the reasoning? And I don't know. Usually I ask questions and I know the answer. This is one of those ones that I have no idea.
Yeah.
But so, and then whatever we learned from that discussion, I would then want to know, does it apply and would it work and in what scenarios in Tarkov? So why is it, I mean, is it, part of the reason now I'm worried is that it's because there's jack shit else to do.
Dude, I actually think that's a slice of the pie. I think that's part of it, is that there
nothing else is enjoyable.
Honestly, like without VoIP or interacting with other people's God, DayZ, you know what I mean? Like I play for like,
imagine playing single player DayZ. Like I'm sure somebody does it.
Oh yeah. It's just there. Yeah, I've run around for like 3 hours trying to find an apple to eat. You know what I mean? It's like, let alone a weapon. So so I think there's a few things to it. I honestly think, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, I think the scale of the map lends itself to stories. Like if there was in VoIP in Tarkov right now, the longest your story could possibly exist is 30 minutes. In a reserve raid. That's the longest it could do.
That's if you meet somebody instantly right away.
I was watching a JLK video, and at one point, this screen went back, and it said, day 63. And I was like, Jesus! Like, he was on the same server, playing the same character, in the same faction, trying to accomplish the same goals for 2 months. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but, so, the scale of DayZ, so, we could talk about Tarkov open world, but then something that DayZ has is like when you die and you click respawn, you are in that same, raid, right? It's a raid that never ends, right? Like you are in that server still, so you can. But I think going.
Wait, what if Tarkov? Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
after.
I mean, at that point it would be servers instead of raids, right? Like.
Well, unless if you could just now you can scav in to your old. If you get lucky, sometimes you can scav in. That's. I wonder if that would be.
I mean, that would be an interesting thought experiment, but
I'll mark that down as a to discuss potentially.
Yeah, but I think that even going open world. So here's something. Here's like something I was talking with my friend Adam the other day, and we were talking about like, okay, let's just assume that we fast forward a few years into the future, and Battlestate Games has done it. They've figured it out. Like the economy, chef's kiss. They've fixed the quests. They've added all the maps. They've done all the things. Like we are playing an S tier game. Like I was talking to somebody last night. I was like, dude, like, do you ever just like stop and think about like how close this is to just like the most magical experience you've ever had in your life playing a video game? And I was like, if they make Tarkov what they want to make Tarkov to be, they have the foundations to make every other style of shooter game better than anybody else. Like, I don't care how taboo you think it is. Like, I would play a battle royale with Tarkov's gunplay. Oh my God.
Call of Duty.
Oh my God.
Tarkov's
I would play
gunplay.
the arena. I would play a team deathmatch or an objective place game. I had this conversation with my friend.
CS:GO with holy shit, like even just a 5v5 with like a that would be sick too.
And I was talking to my friend. I said, and I would play DayZ with Tarkov's gunplay mechanics and map design. Like, you know what I mean? Like, imagine if like Tarkov. Imagine if Tarkov weaves together all of these maps, but spaces them out with like a little bit less of detail. So like the experience we have come to get from Escape from Tarkov is like the highest attention to detail on a map basically ever, right? Like they're crazy about it. And so if they connected these maps, but spaced them far enough apart and then did some, random little shanty towns that, were less so that they could pump
Copy paste the swamp a couple times.
If they pumped the map up bigger and you got a mixture of like, barren places, some, copy paste towns, but then you stumble on reserve. And it's like, that would be the best, Tarkov, what they're creating is like the toolkit for the best everything, the best open world survival, the best instance-based survival, the best battle royale, the best team deathmatch, there's a bunch of stuff for them to figure out, but they've nailed gunplay, gun modification, gear sets like nobody else. And so all that to say that, like, if I feel like if they wove these worlds together, which is why I just want to hear from Nikita what he's thinking about open world, because it's been so long since he talked about it. But if they weave these maps together, and then even if they keep it the way it is, so that we can actually assume this could happen in the next few years, and they made raids, like, it was still instance based, but a raid was like 4 or 5 hours, like, that's totally enough time to get a story, to meet a person, to go on an adventure, to travel to a place, to get this guy who's a newer player to therapists, and therapist is in customs and you're in reserve and it's a hike and you get him there and then you die or the thing and now you're out of the raid and you go, yeah, that was a movie. Like, we went on an adventure. Like, even that would be enough to create, I feel like, an experience like in no other game with Tarkov's toolkit, with the fundamentals of what they have.
Yeah, I don't know. The question is I don't know why I've never considered this, but let's assume this is the biggest assumption ever. Let's assume open world is a thing.
Yeah.
And let's just assume, and for this thought experiment, it's all the maps connected.
Yeah.
Not like, whatever. I mean, it never occurred to me, even with the open world stuff in mind, that you could ever load into a raid. And that wouldn't even be a raid. You would basically like enter the map.
Yeah.
And your body would be somewhere.
Yeah.
Where you could like pick up your shit.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've never considered that, but just at the first 10 seconds of me thinking about it, that sounds fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, if it was just like, because like you still have the risk of somebody killed you. You know, it's going to take you a while to get there.
Yeah.
And the question is are you going to bring gear with you? It's almost like you could be your own insurance in a way. It's like you might have an hour to try a couple times to go get your gear. Maybe Scav Boss is there and he kills you fucking 3 times on your way to get the Bitcoin that's in your pocket or whatever.
Yeah.
Because that's almost like, imagine you get rid of the protector case and you have like things for keys and stuff that aren't lootable. You get rid of the protector case and get rid of insurance and just make it so that like you're not even the same person necessarily. You're just like PMC number 97, PMC number 98, like Moon, how it's all, they're all, hold on, I don't want to spoil it. Like Hard Space Shipbreaker, they're all clones. Yeah, so I mean, like, that actually does that. I can't. It seems amazing to me, but I haven't thought about it for too long.
I don't know. And then here's the it's hard to reconcile all the things, like all the like types of things that are kind of sprinkled through Tarkov. Like every time I play DayZ, when I'm running around the wilderness, I keep saying this. I was like, this with Tarkov's gunplay and some sort of offline stash mechanic would be my perfect game. I love the offline stash. I love extracting loot. I love accumulating wealth. I think that's like a huge driver. Like, I don't think that I could.
You get back to your base and you open a door and you're like in your stash.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, there's actually like physical places where you can extract your stash, or there's more frequently throughout the map places where you can just extract some loot. You send up a flare, you get to a car, a ground stash somewhere where it's like a specific amount of stuff where you can extract the loot. I love that mechanic of Tarkov. I don't think I could ever. I don't want to say ever, but like that's a huge thing that pulls me away from something like DayZ as like a main game and not just like something that entertains me a little bit, is that there's, zero sense of progression. You will die eventually, and when you die,
you have to just make your own
whole thing goes with it. And then I like the RPG elements of like accumulating skills and leveling myself up, and there being value to that. So I don't know. Like you were saying, this is complete thought experiment territory. Neither of us have any like end goal we're trying to arrive at. I don't know if the ability to switch it to like DayZ servers where You wait in your queue. You're in this server. Every time you die, you can click respawn. You emerge from your hideout at some random place, and then you're like, oh, I'm in freaking customs. I died in reserve. Maybe that would work with the offline stash and the RPG mechanics. Maybe it wouldn't. I don't know.
Yeah, because some of the I mean, if you just think about like philosophically, some of the reasons why Tarkov is so awesome is because there's the risk, but then you have like you have risk, but then a safety net.
Yes.
But sometimes,
yeah,
because it doesn't help for like quest items or whatever.
Yeah.
But like you might loot some treasure thing and then die, and it's like, well, I guess I lost that. But then you also have insurance. So there's a few things that like go against.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that you only get one chance. It's roughly equivalent to you get like maybe a second chance to get your shit back, right, with insurance.
Basically.
And then, you know, the unintended, I'm assuming, consequence of you might be able to scav in and get your shit. But I just feel like that would be amazing. Let's just talk about if I made a game right now.
Yeah.
It was Tarkov. I forked the branch, and it's Tarkov as it is now. And there's one server. Let's ignore all the tech around.
Yeah.
Making it. Just talk about philosophically. There's a server where you can load into. Everything's all connected, and when you die, your stuff is there, and then maybe the servers go down every 4 or 5 hours, and everything gets reset or whatever. So everything live gets reset. So like Scav Boss will respawn. You know, maybe there's only one instance of Scav Boss every reset or something, and they can be anywhere. Or you know, and maybe scavs will spawn randomly all around the place, like I'm assuming they do in DayZ.
Yeah, dead bodies clean up and stuff like that.
Yeah, get rid of all the loot that's on the ground. But essentially, like that. Imagine you have a backpack full of shit, and you die to a landmine out in the middle of nowhere. It's like, I might be able to get back to my fucking and grab the stuff. You know, like fucking Black Hawk Down.
Yeah, you're mounting your own rescue mission.
Yeah, and then because that right there it's a way more meaningful mechanic than like insurance, because you're paying and you have to earn it. It's not just a coin flip. And if somebody killed you, like a player, chances are they're going to take your shit. So by the time you get put together a loadout and get there, first of all, you're risking another loadout. It's like doubling down after you lost a hand.
Yeah.
Where you might lose two things now, you know, and it's like, well, now do I fucking triple or nothing? Or do I just cut my losses?
And it would be dynamic, right? Because if you knew you died to a squad, there'd be a lot less chance that you'd go back, because you'd be like, whatever. But if you died to Scav Boss, you'd be like, if I can get there before anybody else does. You know what I mean? Like, I might be able to, you know,
I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's totally. That was the other thing that always confused me, and this is because I never played DayZ, but always was like, what are they going to do with like loot and spawns and stuff?
Yeah.
In Tarkov, if it's open world, to me it was always like, it's just going to have to, like, when people get far away, things will just disappear and clean up. But like that's a really complicated thing. Like, what happens if you just never do? What happens if 10 of us join a server and 10 of us farm scavs or whatever, and then 10 of us sit at, like, how you used to be able to spawn camp in COD, where it's like, if I stand here and you stand there, he has to spawn right in front of my crosshair, and it's like, you're dead, you're dead. Where, like, you know, you could fucking stand in all the places that would like prevent the server from ever actually refreshing anything. But if it's just like, if it was up for 5 hours and then it got taken down, I wonder how many servers they would need.
Yeah.
If it was open world, I mean, then they have, let's just say, I'm just throwing a fucking number out there, 25 players per map per raid, but it's open world. How many maps are there? Like 8?
Yeah, I think like 6 or 7. Yeah. So,
let's just say 20. Let's say 25 players times 8. Actually, let's say 30, because they're bigger maps, times 8. That's 240 players. I mean, I guess we don't know how many concurrent
players Tarkov has. Yeah.
But if it was just like you randomly got assigned a server, it wasn't like DayZ where you could host your own necessarily, whatever. You just got a randomly assigned one, and that's your server. And there's a timer that's like, oh, we napalm the fucking thing every 4 hours to, you know, the government does. The UN comes and they drop the fucking gas, you know.
That's true. That would actually make the experience smoother. The fact that you don't need, you know, like the DayZ SA launcher and you install the mods and you have to find your server. The experience would be similar. You open the BSG launcher, you click play. Battlestate Games finds a server that has a spot closest to you, puts you in it, bada bing, bada boom. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Tell me how that wouldn't, like, holy fuck, dude. And then that would be so cool because you could do like 10 quests all at once.
Yeah.
You could figure out ways to chain the quests together where it's like, what's the most efficient way to like farm this thing on interchange, fill my backpack with the things I need, kill the 3 scavs on customs, pick up an AK with a suppressor and do this other thing on the way here. Mm-hmm. And then if you die, it's like some of the progress you lose.
Yeah,
you know,
if you needed items,
some of the progress you might gain, you might have a second chance to get the thing, and it might be a little bit easier, but it could also be harder, right? Yeah. If you have like a Bitcoin in your pocket and you're surrounded by 100 scavs, it might be easier just to get a Bitcoin elsewhere. But also, you know there's one there, but I don't know, I just feel like that's fucking amazing. Yeah. Like, in what way, other than, so it would be, like, could they sustain that number of servers and the technology around making it perform with all of that stuff without being completely shitty? But like otherwise, it can't be hard. I mean, they pull up a server every single time for a raid.
That's
so
what
it's
I was
not like
about to say. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't that lessen the amount of servers? Those servers would just need to be up longer, because if, let's say that they want to go open world, they go open world, but they keep an instance based like this. Every time you die and you click gear up again and you click go back into a raid, there has to be another full size server to put you in. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't that reduce the actual amount of servers needed? There would just need to be tech for these servers go down every X amount of time, and it would clean up these items. Because at first I was like, yeah, but then that's a lot of servers. But it's so many more servers.
I think it's way less. It's way less servers. Because like I said, what was it? 30 times, let's say 300 players per map or whatever. Then that's 300 players per server instead of 6 or 5. You know.
Yeah.
Now, again, there's performance implications and costs there, and I'm sure that they would need potentially different servers, or I don't know, and that's would be worth looking into. But I just feel like that would be almost easier to implement. B, I almost feel like you could. There would be like almost no matchmaking either. They just put you on any server that has an open slot, even if you might join, as long as it has like, let's say, more than an hour left. Yeah. You might join, you might say, okay, so this one's shutting down in an hour. I'm not going to start this long-term thing. Yeah. I'll do a little bit on my hideout or whatever, wait for it to reset, and then I'll go do this big thing. But then you're jumping in to this totally dynamic, there's going to be potentially bodies everywhere, you know.
And imagine,
like, what the fuck?
Imagine it's like, because then you can get all sorts of content around like factions and groups. Like, imagine there's like a 5-man in the fortress at Stronghold, and they're like, this is ours. Like, we're like, can we hold this for an entire server reset? You know what I mean? Could we be here for 4 hours? They're sending people to go get loot. You know what I mean? When they kill people and like that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And then like the server could try to like mount an attack on these guys. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, of course, like we've already addressed multiple times, I'm sure that there's a million things that we're not thinking of, but I just adding VoIP, which is kind of where this whole thing started from, and pushing the amount of time you can spend in a raid, whether it's still instance based like this or more server dependent, like what we're talking about. Our whole podcast like 2 weeks ago was like about how they could print more hours of the game with the least amount of work.
This is one feature.
That's what DayZ has done better than any
infinite content.
Better than any other video game ever. Like, now the thing about DayZ is that there's modded servers, so you can play deathmatch servers, you can play PvE only servers, you can play no kill on site servers. But I would like a game where it's not that, where you get a consistent experience every time you log onto a server and there's just a bunch of servers. It's infinite replayability with Voip and with the ability to stay in a raid as long as you well please.
And then, I mean, just imagine, holy fuck, bro. Get rid of it gets rid of the concept of wipes almost, because think about it. You can play as long as you want and build your character up and build up your stash or whatever. And then if like, you can start over if you get bored and you want to start from scratch or whatever. Or think about when you have essentially infinite money and you've done all the quests. Right now it's like what, daily quests and daily tasks. Those are always like, people can just say, oh yeah, there's a lot of daily quests, and people instantly turn their brain critical thinking off and they just think, oh, that's infinite replayability. They're going to come up with cool things that are going to change all the time, and I swear they won't be shitty like the current quests. It's going to be fetch quests and kill scabs all day long. The same pointless bullshit. But imagine like we could spend our day saying, we're going to make our way, me, you, geek. We're going to get a fucking squad together and we're just going to sit in customs in like the fucking dilapidated buildings, and we're going to snipe, and we're going to fuck with anybody that comes by, and we're going to rob them and whatever. Because like you have the ability now to make your own missions.
Yes.
Because you're not limited by shitty matchmaking and small server population and a tiny area and a limited time constraint. That would be. I used to say that Tarkov is going to be like the best shooter ever made, and that was before I even considered Voip and fucking open world. If they could do open world in a way similar to DayZ but with their own servers, that would make every part of the questing and the flea market and insurance and the protector case and found and raid bullshit and all this other stuff, it would make it the greatest game of all time.
Yep.
The greatest game of all time.
Yep. Dude, I agree, man. I agree. I think, I
mean, like,
that's why
if Nikita doesn't do it, now I need to make it fucking DayZ, but not bad. Which I'm sure said every fucking company ever, maybe, but
that's the thing, and that's why I'm just freaking broken record. That's why I want to hear from Nikita what their thoughts are on open world. That's why I've been talking about open world a lot. That's why I have completely changed my tune when it comes to Voip, because going back to that conversation that I was having with Adam, my friend, the other day, where I was like, what if we're thinking about this all backwards? What if they're building by developing Tarkov the way that they're developing it, they're mastering a toolkit that they can then use to make just any game they want the best that they can. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they've spent so much time. Their plan is to
make Russia 2028, which is literally Tarkov, but turn the internet off. It's like, well, that seems like a step in the not in the wrong direction, but it's like, but I want to kill other people.
I know, but that's the thing.
I want to feed them. I
actually think that I want to feed them bleach. I actually think that they did it accidentally, but that's I'm saying, like, they've somehow done it in reverse. Instead of starting with a giant map with 4 buildings that you copy paste everywhere, and then try to, like, they're starting with like the gunplay, the movement, the mechanics, the animations, all this stuff all day. Like, they're starting with the polish, all this stuff that makes you like, oh my God, what am I playing here? And they can flip it. And once again, map design, if it's kind of super big brain of them, once again, whether it was an accident or not, to go, we want to build an open world game. But instead of starting with 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers and then trying to fill it as we go
with 3 buildings and a million trees.
Exactly. They're like, you know what I mean? Like, customs has been expanded like 4 times, and each time the quality gets better and better. Reserve was like a top notch. It's like every time
they opened up the basement to reserve, and everybody was like, dude, mind blown.
Every
like,
video game trailer you've ever seen since you were 10 years old was trying to convince you that they made reserve. Multiple buildings with every room is lootable. And then you play DayZ and there's an 11-story building and every door is locked except for the one on the first floor and the one on the 11th floor.
14 JPEGs arranged in a cube with a hole in the side.
And Exactly. That is the magic of Tarkov map design. It's every video game. It's what every video game trailer has tried to convince you they've had since you were 10 years old, and they have it. Reserve, you look at like a third of the map, which is the two pawn buildings in Black Bishop or whichever one it is. They're all 4-story buildings. Every floor, every room is lootable. Some of them are locked. You got to go find the key. It's not just a locked door for the sake of a locked door. You actually got to go find the key. You unlock the door. There's stuff with it. They flipped the switch one day, and now there's an underground tunnel system that connects these 4 buildings together. It's map design like you've never seen it before. And they flipped it. They started there and they want to weave these maps together. And it feels like at the rate they're going, it'll be 2077 by the time it happens. But you still have to acknowledge that like that's a good idea to try that, because we've all played open world games that are empty.
Yeah, I don't know that they were going for that.
Like empty AF. And
so, like, this will blow my mind if Nikita was like, "Oh yeah, I was thinking kind of something like DayZ," and it was like, you realize, bro, that everybody, like, nobody, at least when I hear open world, I never thought DayZ.
Yeah.
And I never thought, I don't even know. Like, I just thought all the maps were connected, but it was still just like the raid, like a raid. I don't. It's never been explained. It's never been fleshed out.
Exactly.
And nobody's ever. I mean, maybe they have said it's like DayZ, but because I never played DayZ, I never had an idea for like what a persistent server like that is. The only time I've ever played games with servers, it was like Diablo, but even that was like the server was always open as long as players were in it, and other players may or may not be in it. It was just a totally different concept, not this idea of.
Yeah.
Like, and because I have the HUD off, all of a sudden randomly I get kicked out of the game, and oh, server restart. Oh shit. And I never thought I've only been playing for 3 days, but it only just now occurred to me how like that is a way to just fucking reset everything. Yeah. Imagine keys, dude. You could get rid of the whole concept of key durability, which to me is a nonsense mechanic to try to like limit the amount that you can use the thing, just because you only have one chance. But think about it. If you have the whole map and there's, let's say, 200 people, if everybody goes in opposite directions, everybody would get to unlock the thing.
Yeah.
But there's so much there, and there's so many people who have so many different combinations of keys that didn't just spawn 50 meters closer.
Yeah.
So that like you'd be able to use a different set of keys every single time.
Yeah.
You could get rid of key durability and...
Exactly. Where were you when the server reset? How close? Oh, crap. Like, I'm actually pretty close to X. Or, I want to go see if it's open.
And that fixes the whole idea, like, too, because they could do a million things. But one of the things is, like... And I know part of what they want is for you to like escape through Tarkov, but I just don't know. Like, am I going to want to do that once a day? Like, I don't understand what the point of that will be. That's another thing is a big question. But like, they could take all 200 people or whatever and split them all across the fucking island. And it might just be for this server or this hour or this 4 hours or whatever, I'm close to shoreline. Okay, well, I'm like, as long as you're statistically, likely to get put evenly anywhere, then you can almost tailor your quests to like what's close by. Maybe you just stick around shoreline, or maybe you want to go and try to do the customs quest. You can make it so that you have 30 quests at once, but you're only going to do what's nearby, or you can chain together as much. Then the spawn issue is irrelevant, basically, because if it's only a problem in the first 60 seconds of the 4 hours. Yeah. If it's as bad as it is now.
Yeah, exactly.
But it could be as bad as it is now, but as soon as everybody gets away from the spawn, the chances of you spawning next to somebody at the same exact time, it's like fucking impossible. And I think so unlikely.
And I think that's kind of what Aqua, when we were talking with Aqua about Voip and stuff like that, because he's played a lot more games and stuff like. That's kind of what he was saying, and that's something, it was a mental hurdle that I had to get over, was that like it would just be such a fundamental shift. Keys wouldn't be as important because the game would be about something different. It would be about player interactions, whether that was violent or peaceful. Right now...
It wouldn't even have to be. You could actually play it exactly the same as now.
Well, no,
if you just want to go in and fill up your bag and then leave,
you could.
You could just do laps all day long,
but you wouldn't have to, and that's what we talked about before when we discussed the profitability. If there's nothing to do but profit, and PvP isn't profitable, then the game right now is where did I spawn? I spawn at the beach. I'm not going to get anything profitable. I might as well go try to kill someone. I spawn close. And so it's a hard mental shift to be like, well, if the map was big, whoever just spawned closer to the Ledics would just win. But would they? We're talking about 4 or 5 hour reset. It's not about that anymore. Like money is so arbitrary in Tarkov. You know what I mean? The difference between 10 million rubles and 100 million rubles is nothing. It's just that we don't have anything else to do. So let's try to accumulate wealth. But if the game could be, you know what I mean? You could still do that. You could make your mission, go fill up your bag worth of stuff you want to sell. You could make your mission, go find somebody to, form an alliance with. You could make your mission to kill as many people as possible. And now it's not, the gameplay loop isn't so tied to how close am I to loot that is expensive.
Think about how fucking amazing it would be. First of all, have a day-night cycle. So it's like 2 hours of daylight, 2 hours of nighttime. Maybe it's like an hour of day, 2 hours. They can just allocate it so that it's 2 and 2. Maybe it's the first hour or whatever. Yeah. But how fucking awesome would that be to I would want to have a sidearm with extra mags, and I would have an M4 with a bunch of extra ammo, and I would have food in my bag because we go in with NVGs and we're just gonna all prone out along the fucking building. You can sit on the fucking grenade launcher, you sit on the mounted gun, and we're just fucking chill here.
Yep.
That idea of getting decked out with all kinds of gear and going on a mission. Yeah. It's not just let's go kill some things and run to the other side of the map, because that it doesn't feel fun. But being able to interact in some way with people, having that possibility, and also then having, dude, holy fuck,
dude,
I need to get Nikita on the line.
Have you played? Have you only played the day one servers? Is that what you were playing on?
I played vanilla for 2 days, and I think I shot one person in the head once, and it was Fluven.
Because I was playing with Fluven and Lennon on a server that had traders in DayZ. It was crazy. There's you can find loot and you can sell them to traders.
NPCs?
Mm-hmm. NPC traders that were stationary. They were in safe zones. It was 300 meters around. It lets you know when you're about to leave the safe zone, when you're leaving the safe zone. It's so big that you couldn't really camp it. You could run in so many different directions. It would take 30 people to camp the safe zone. But so anyways, it was definitely a very different DayZ experience. There was much more loot. You could sell that loot. There was an ATM. It was basically, they were trying to be kind of like Tarkov, where instead of an offline stash, it was just money. You deposit your money to the ATM, then you leave the safe zone. If you come back to the safe zone, you still have your money. But there's a black market trader that buys and sells different things and for more money, and there is no safe zone around him. And so imagine the exact open world scenario you described. You ever play Destiny? Okay, so
negative.
I'm about to bring it all together. So that was the DayZ experience. Destiny had a trader called Zur, and every Friday he would appear in a random spot on one of the planets that just when somebody would post it on the forums once they found him, and he sold exotic gear that you can only get from him. Okay, imagine if Fence was a physicalized black market trader in Tarkov that appeared at different places at every server restart. So there was some sort of incentive to get a squad of people, get a bunch of gear from your stash, and try to take it to him and sell it for a bunch of money. Imagine running up on a 4-man and not realizing that they had freaking loot on him. You wouldn't have to. You can still sell it to Purport or Therapist or whatever from your hideout, but you found the grenade launcher.
You have to take 3 mule stems because you get a box of sealed up 1,000 rounds of ammo.
Yeah, you found a grenade launcher, and you can sell that grenade launcher to a mechanic for 250,000 rubles, but Fence buys it for 1.2 million. So you pop that thing in your bag and you start freaking hauling it, dude. That would be dope.
You could fucking hire people. This is Star Citizen-esque because now it's
to escort you.
I'll pay you 100,000 rubles to escort me down the road, or whatever. And if you happen to fail then you have your buddies there that can stay for you to maybe get back there. It's not that you have 4 and then you have 3 and then you have 2 and then you have 1. It's like you have 4 and then 3 and then 4 and then 2 and then 4 and then you have like multiple tries, and you could have them fucking hold down shit like at the Alamo. And then but also there's so many roles that people can play. You can be an actual Sherpa. You can be like end game players can be like, all right, you fucking pay me actual money and I'll help you with the Pocket Watch quest. I'll take you there, follow me, and you actually give me money. And like, holy fuck, dude.
So you could combine all these elements of the games, but, and this might be the last thing we talk about, the thing is though, is that like, we don't have any clue. I'd love to hear your opinion on this because I don't have a super hard opinion on this. I'm just going on gut feeling. We don't have any idea at all what Nikita wants or means when he says open world. He says, I want you to...
We also don't know if he knows.
Yeah. It
could be that he has the same idea where he's like, yeah, we have it planned open world. Yeah. It could just be a sticky note in a fucking...
that says
in
open
a to-do
world
list.
When he says, he has said over the years, you will be able to escape Tarkov. What does that mean? In an online multiplayer game, you don't beat it. You don't. What does that mean?
All that sounds like is it's a raid.
Yeah.
But then you get out at the end.
You
it's
escaped.
Like, well, I want to go back though. Like I killed 27 dudes and all their gear is there. I don't want to escape. I kind of want to go back and grab their shit too.
And that's the thing, man. Is that like I don't know if their strategy is genius or abysmal. Because I follow a game like Star Citizen where they have no problem telling you everything they want. This is exactly what Chris Roberts wants it to be. They reference blog posts that Chris Roberts, they reference it like scripture. They're like, yeah, in Death of a Spaceman, which was a huge blog post he wrote about how permadeath is going to work in his world. And they reference it, the devs do, the community does. Do you know what that game is going to be? You get to decide if you like that game or not. You get to decide if you're going to pay that game or not. You know everything they're working on. You know how many check things. There's 7 out of 11 tasks done. This is getting pushed. This is staying. This is this. And I'm not saying that there's no merit to doing it a different way, like the way Tarkov is done. But I think that at least plays some role in the division and the fighting amongst the community, because they have built a really popular game that has the foundations of a game like none of us have ever played, and have told us little to nothing about how this story ends. But now they have
a couple of features.
Now they have
a couple of features that are buzzwords.
Yes.
Open world and escaping from the map.
Yes.
With which could mean 8 billion different things.
And
they've never explained what they mean by it, which makes me honestly think they don't know what they mean by it.
And you have 300,000 people now super invested in this game. It's like that's not a hard formula. What are they going to do? They're going to fill in the blanks. They're going to say what they want the game to be. I am now incredibly invested in this being the way Tarkov turns out, because the conversation we've just had over the past hour is better than anything I've thought about in Tarkov before. And I have no idea to know, like, you know what I mean? If they would listen to this conversation and go, oh my God, no, we don't want to make that game. That's stupid. I have no idea.
Crazy, the thing that's crazy, and it's like, I feel like I could, and maybe next time I talk to Nikita, I'll throw it out there. Be like, you know anything about DayZ? Have you ever played it? Do you know what that's like?
Yeah.
But like, the thing is that there's a lot of fundamental elements in Tarkov that, like, if you made it a BR, it would lose all of its flavor.
Yeah.
Not that if you made a BR out of it separately,
but if you made Tarkov a BR.
But like, what we're talking about doesn't seem like it's a fundamental change in the flavor or in the soul of or in the spine of.
Yeah.
It retains all of the things about a hardcore, immersive, realistic thing. If you want to just do quests and escape and then restart, sure, fine. But there's also the same world that you can do an infinite amount of shit in. and all you've added is infinite randomized NPCs that can get in your way at any point for all the other people who want to play in a different way.
Yeah. So I just think it's crazy because like anybody that counters what I said with like, well, it's a beta, that's like absurd because like the whole point of it is like, yes, it's a beta and you're selling me on the beta. You're selling me on the vision, right? Like the reason Star Citizen raised $400 million in crowdfunding is because Chris Roberts is like, I want to make this game. And it's like, oh shoot, I want that game. You know what I mean? And Tarkov is like, I want to make a game with really good gunplay. But it's got really, really good gunplay. And then it's
not done yet.
And then
it's not done yet.
Yeah, and then we all played the gunplay and we're like, wow, this is really good. What game do you want to make with this? And we're like, we want to make a game.
It will have features.
What is that? No. So it's like the beta argument doesn't hold because that's the whole point of a beta is you sell me on the vision, and because the vision is so strong, I'm okay with the bugs. But
I'm okay with the bullshit.
We have really good mechanics and no vision. Or not no vision. We have pieces of vision that are constructed. It's like the meme of the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia when he's got all the strings. We're like, well, in 2017, Nikita said open world, and he said it with this tone of voice. And then on a podcast over here, he said, and I don't know if I feel, I just like, man, I just want you to be like, this is the game we want to make. And then we can be like, oh, okay. That's not what I wanted, but now I know.
It's entirely possible that like, when I first made Battle Buddy, I was like, I'm gonna make a wiki with calculators and some other cool shit, and I started writing the code.
Yeah.
Now I had the luxury of essentially doing what BSG I think wanted to do a while ago, which is just kind of take a break, step away, and may or may not ever add to it again. You know, who the fuck knows? But like, I didn't charge any money for it, so that's why I feel okay. But like, I didn't know what the vision was, but again, I also wasn't trying to sell a product. Yeah. So I never felt like I needed to. It was just always whatever the fuck I felt like doing personally.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to actually sell somebody on something, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, like you have to tell them what the product is.
What am I buying?
So
you're saying I'm making an app and it's going to have a really good search feature. What am I searching? No. It's going to be really good. Here it is. Oh, it is really good. Well, I'm just going to make an app. And I think
it'll have calculators.
I think that and here's a guesstimate, a complete guesstimate. I think he's terrified of putting out a roadmap because then he will feel beholden to it. When the exact opposite has happened, we are all so confused that if he sneezes, we take it as Tarkov gospel, and now we're referencing it 17 months later. Well, you freaking said on that podcast, dude.
And just like gospel, it's like the Bible. We all have to interpret poorly translated Hebrew texts from 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
He said, betwixt unto thee, there shalt be an open world.
Yes.
And everybody was like, well, did he say that? I don't know. I wasn't there. Yo, dog,
I don't speak Russian.
It's written in the thing, dude. I don't know. I don't translate the open world. I'm pretty sure he said something about Tashanka, bud, and that's just beef stew. Are you sure, though? Well, it's a bad translation, but on this other thing, Nikita of Nazareth,
and I think the opposite is true. I think with a roadmap and a bunch of communication, like once again, I keep referencing Star Citizen because it's an insanely expensive product that continues to make more money year over year, that continues to make more money quarter over quarter, that has they started with like 11 employees. They've got 2,000 across the globe now. And their community is weirdly super chill, not rivalry, and stuff happens all the time. This gets kicked, this gets pushed back, and everyone goes, thanks for telling us.
They know what's coming. They know what's coming, and they see it's an infinite possibility. And then there are people like me who are like, I see that they have this bridge, right? And I see that there's another beautiful island on the edge of this bridge that they've built. And they said, we're going to finish this bridge. And they haven't explicitly said it's going to reach the other island. Yeah. It might just end.
There's another dumpster island next to it, and you don't know which freaking island we're going to. Like,
and at some point, I'm like, you realize back over there's just giant swords sticking up in the middle of the road, right? That's not a great functional road. And they're like, don't worry, we're building more. And it's like, you're not going to put the swords in there, though, are you? Because there's also like turtles, and I don't want to hit the turtle. I don't want to get in the way. And there's lots of potholes.
Dude.
So I know you're going to fix the bridge, but the rest of the bridge, first of all, I want to know, does it go to the end and it's not going to have swords and turtles and potholes, is it?
Before we get to that part. And so that's
but everybody's like, oh, yeah, I just assume it's going to the other side. I know it is.
I try really hard because it is a guess, and I really hope people hear me say it is a guess, but I think that he sees how volatile the community is. He sees how we attach onto his words and we hold onto them tight. And I think that he thinks that if they put out a roadmap and anything has to change, that we would freak out. And I think it would be a transition process, but I think more communication, more clear vision. We all ended up here. We bought a game. We don't know what game they're making. What is the arena? What is open world? What is Escaping from Tarkov? What does it all mean?
That's different from a roadmap, though. Roadmap is
I think both. I think
when you tell a developer you need a roadmap, what they say, what that means is you put Post-it notes for features on a calendar.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That is what. No.
For sure.
I don't care. I actually don't care about any of that, as long as you tell me way at the end of this story is an open world. If he just says it's DayZ servers with Tarkov mechanics, you know, like
but
okay, I'm fucking sold.
Agree.
Right?
I agree, and I think that I appreciate you actually saying that, because I fully understand that vision and roadmap are different. And I think what I want is 85% a clear vision from Nikita and 15% a roadmap would be nice. But like if you gave Chris Roberts 2 hours solo dolo and you pointed a camera at his face and you said, "What's the vision for Star Citizen?" No, I don't think he would say a single word that hasn't already been said. Like the community, there'd be no new information in there. Think about how different that experience would be for Tarkov. Camera on Nikita, 2 hours. What do you want Escape from Tarkov to be at the end? It would be all new information. You know what I mean? And I think that the vision, where are we headed with this ship? It brings buy-in from people. It prevents people from buying the game. You know what I mean? Nobody buys Star Citizen thinking it's a battle royale or thinking it's a team deathmatch or whatever. You avoid.
They see what it has, and they know where it's gonna go. I mean, now I'm on a mission. Two things: one, to figure this out from Nikita, but two, and to convince Nikita to do the DayZ thing that we're talking about. But three, I'm going to make there's no way this hasn't been done, but I'm gonna write a sitcom. Okay, and I'm thinking, what was that fucking show? I can't remember. Not Always Sunny, but at one point they got like a banana.
Arrested Development.
Shack. Holy fuck, that was the only thing I could point to. Arrested Development. I'm picturing like Arrested Development kind of, but the main character is the second coming of literal Jesus Christ. And the problem is that everybody's like, "What are you gonna say to us today?" It's just like so nervous because he realizes like, I can't. Everybody's gonna interpret it in 100 fucking different ways. I can't. I just want to like everybody just be cool. Like I don't know. Like he just realizes he's just in over his head.
Yeah.
That would be. Imagine how phenomenally good that would be if like Jesus is like, "All right, I'm back, boys," and then everybody everybody takes everything what he says the wrong way, and he's just always under pressure, and he's just like he would. It's basically Nikita.
Yeah.
Always careful about what he says, tiptoeing around shit. Like I didn't say.
Yeah.
I didn't say the
explicitly say. Yeah.
I didn't say they were bad, but.
Bro, have you seen? I doubt it. Have you seen The Umbrella Academy? It's a Netflix show.
No.
Okay, so like without spoiling anything, at the end of the first season, they go back in time, and one of the characters, and through the second season, ends up forming a cult, and all his scripture are lyrics from early 2000 songs, and he ends up so annoyed with his entire cult. They follow him around, and he just turns around and he'll be like, "Don't go chasing waterfalls," and then like all his disciples scurry away, and he's just like, so he tries to avoid them at all costs. It's so funny. It's
you may hate me, but it ain't no lie. Followers, bye.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like just like that, dude. It was so funny. But anyways.
Oh shit.
So like I really, and I was seeing some stuff in the chat and I understand it. And I already know that the comment section on this YouTube video is going to be insane. But I really want to like express that this is what we're not trying to do is just like dump on Nikita or BSG for the sake of it. I genuinely think that, and I'm very willing to be proven wrong at any step of the way. I actually love that. But just that if there was a clear vision, it's just like, this isn't.
They're making the greatest game ever. We just don't know exactly what it's going to be. That's our only criticism.
And then look at other games. Look at other games that have done really well in early access. Look at other games that have done poorly in early access. And just ask yourself if you know what game they're making. And how often you find yourself in this experience. You know what I mean? Like and it's rooted. It manifests in a lot of different ways. Certain people play this like COD because you can play it like COD and you can play it well like COD. Some people play it hardcore because you can play it hardcore and it can be fun hardcore. And we just don't know where it's going. You know what I mean? And so I'm not trying to dump on them. Like I said, if anything, I'm trying to empathize with the fact that like, you know, we have a podcast where we analyze stuff they say. So I get that. He's like, well, I don't want to say too much then. I totally get it. I'm trying to empathize with him. But I really think that there are models out there like Star Citizen that the community is different because they do things a little differently. That's all I'm trying to say.
And yeah, no, I understand, and that's all
I know you do.
Don't read the comment section. I'm sorry. I'm giving you advice that you gave me. But first of all, I don't want this to just be the longest, even more depressing version of No Man's Sky. You know, where it's like everybody thought it was one thing and then it came and it kind of flopped and then it switched to something else and then eventually became something cool. Like, if Nikita really wants to be done with Tarkov, just connect the maps, fix the major bugs, add Voip, fix the quests, you're done.
You're done.
Infinite replayability content. You can do what the fuck you want. Go make Tarkov 2, Russia 2028. Go make fucking My Little Pony DLC. I don't care.
Yeah,
that's the fastest way out.
It actually kind of is.
Blink twice if you want to get out, bro. Blink twice if you want to get out.
It kind of is though. Yeah, like dude, Voip, the infinite replayability that comes with Voip. Connect the maps. Yeah, you can be out if you want, but we just don't know. We don't know.
Fuck me, dude. Fuck me. Oh my god. Yeah. Every time I've there's been a couple of times on a few podcasts where I have straight up been like, tell me what you want. And it was always never like, it was always, oh, well, you know, and I couldn't tell if he was just like tired and overwhelmed or if he's like, it's like when you ask a kid for their homework when they're like, fuck, there's 3 minutes left in class and oh god, I didn't do the homework.
Yeah.
You know, like if he's just like, I haven't thought enough about it.
Yeah.
I've been, you know, I just haven't fucking, I was hoping it would come to me before, like, it better not end like Lost, basically. Yes. It's better not be like, well, we gotta fucking wrap it up.
That's exactly what scares me, is that they being this far into a project, being this far into a development, making as much money as they have with as many active players as they do, it feels like, I could be wrong, there could be more option, it feels like they're either have a vision and are intentionally not stating it because they don't want to be beholden to it, or they have no vision and they're figuring it out as they go, and they now realize how messed up that is and they don't know a way out. It feels
There's a third
like
option. They do have a vision and they realize it's dog shit, but they just, and I don't believe this is the case.
No, yeah.
But this would be a great world if he was like, and then when you escape Tarkov, it's Skyrim.
It's just out. Yeah.
You're finally awake.
Yeah. Oh, welcome. Yeah. So it's just, I don't know.
Neither do I.
Man, I was gonna say something and I totally forgot.
Oh, did my Skyrim
no,
goofing
the
gaff.
Skyrim was great. It was even before that, and I just forgot what it was. Yeah. So I don't know. But
this is the first time I've ever had a coherent vision for Tarkov and what it just like theoretically could be, and I've never been more excited about anything in my entire fucking life, actually.
Yeah.
And this is what a thought experiment,
Yeah.
you know, like throwing around a bunch of shitty ideas and eventually some things will stick.
Yeah. So so it's like, how do we end this? It's like I have no idea. Like
12.8 maybe before the next episode.
Yeah. And I think, by the way, that plays exactly into it. They didn't want to give a date on 12.8 because they didn't know what they could do. The community freaked out. They gave a date on 12.8. They couldn't make the date, and the community's freaking out. It's exactly more of why I think he's terrified to say anything. But yeah, so 12.8, hopefully we're going to get that. It'd be dope to get it in the next few days and be able to get our hands on it and really get into it a decent amount before the next podcast. But yeah, so that's our Escape from Tarkov future thought experiment. 12.8 is coming soon. We got some cool stuff in the works. And
we might have the greatest game of all time coming, and maybe not.
Yeah.
It's unclear.
Unclear.
There's
always Star Citizen though.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Voip is the only thing that holds that game up now. I lost interest.
That's okay.
I'll come back to it.
Yeah. I kind of am waiting until a lot more stuff comes too, but yeah. So I think that's it. I think that really, it was funny when we started. We were like, "Did you put anything in the notes?" I don't know what, and then it ended up being like some of the most compelling.
This was the greatest fucking shit we've ever had.
Yeah. So, but thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you popped in halfway through, or if you're new around here, it's a weekly show. The audio for this will go live on Spotify and all those platforms on Monday, and the video will be on my YouTube channel on Monday as well. We'll be back next week with more talk, hopefully some 12.8 discussion and some stuff. Maybe they'll even surprise us with some stuff. But thank you so much for being here, and until next time, we'll catch you later.
Peace, you